Now, welcome to the practice today. As very often, I would like you to have a block around. I'm not too sure if we're actually needing that block or not, but it's good to have one nearby if that's an item you have. And it might assist you also with some of the seated postures when we get to them. So no obligation if you don't have the block, maybe a cushion will do. And sometimes when we balance or so, a wall or leaning against the furniture is okay to practice as well. Let us begin this practice then lying down on the backs. So rather getting quite comfortable to begin with. When you lie down, you could choose to step the feet down, keep your knees bent. That's for lower back comfort. You might open the knees out for a little bit of hip opening. You might extend the legs, and there could even be a bolster under the knees or anything else that you like to be comfortable. Our practice today will focus a bit on the point between the eyebrows, or Ajna chakra. That place here between the eyebrows, in some other beliefs, is reflected as an eye. What happens in that area of our energy is more so a broader view on life, maybe. So it is that we can't see with our eyes, but can still see if we pay attention. I happen to have a bluish stone sitting here on my side. If you were to have anything like that, it might be nice to rest that upon your eyebrow center, but no reason to jump up to do so. You could also just simply visualize that bluish spot in between your eyebrows. As you allow to rest on the back and being comfortable, with the awareness drawn in that direction, another idea around this energy center is an initiation of trust. Or, in other words, relaxing into what we don't know much about. While fears and worries can be quite immobilizing, and with that creating a rigidity in the body, but also in mind and soul. It can promote coldness and hardness inside the body, and hinder progress, discovery, and the trying of new things. Your nervous system is connected directly to your emotions. It is the communication network between your soul and body. The more sensitive you are, the greater your capacity to tune in and create an inner atmosphere of healing, trust, and freedom. So for the practice, you might focus on trusting your inner knowing and maybe asking your guides for help as you move into the unknown. In that discomfort of the unknown, you can discover your greatest lessons and open the door to your karmic destiny. So while you're resting there, you might come in with a silent affirmation for yourself, such as, I have clarity in my thoughts, or ego doesn't cloud my thinking, or I'm open to my inner wisdom. Maybe one of them resonates with you. I have clarity in my thoughts. Ego doesn't cloud my thinking. I'm open to my inner wisdom. If any of those resonate well with you, Begin to silently recite the affirmation in your mind. Giving you a single point of focus, the affirmation. Once you've established this affirmation for yourself, keep it in the back of the mind for now. And if you have anything resting underneath your legs, underneath your back, you might want to remove that. Bringing your right knee in towards the chest and giving that a good squeeze in towards your body. Your left foot may rest on the mat, or the left leg can be extended out long. Keeping your knees squeezed in towards the chest. On an out breath, could you lift your nose up towards the knee and pause there? Before releasing your head and upper back again to the mat. You might then like to circle your right foot. And if your hands are across the shin, you might feel that movement underneath your hands, changing direction of the circles. Releasing the circling of the foot, placing the left hand upon your kneecap and letting your right arm gently fall open to the side. With an out breath, very carefully guiding your knee across the body, leaving the other shoulder on the ground. On your inhale, could you choose to roll again onto your back? On the exhale, guiding the knee across the body. Inhaling as you roll onto your back. Exhaling, bringing the knee across. As you might repeat that just a couple more times, you could, at the end of that, decide to just simply continue moving because it helps you expand, or you could choose to pause within the twist. Doesn't mean there's no movement possible. If you like, you could add a light bounce, maybe using your fingertips to still guide you very gently in and out of the twist. We're moving a bit more across our fascia lines, helping us to stay mobile and also allowing rigidity to move away from us and stimulating the nerve endings again in these areas. As you might allow yourself to rest on your back, stepping your right foot down. If you prefer, extend the right leg straight away, or bring your left knee in first. You might like to hold onto the leg as you squeeze it in, and then make the choice of keeping your right foot on the ground or extending the leg out long. Give this knee a good squeeze into the chest. Option on an out breath to lift your nose up to the knee and a pause there. And slowly releasing the upper body back down. Keep your knee into the chest. Start to circle the foot. I just moved my hands across the shin so I can feel the movement that I am creating with the simple ankle rotation. And then changing the direction. Might already have an insight that these two sides feeling very, very different. As you pause the circling, your right hand rests upon the left knee, and you might like to let your left arm drop out to the side, maybe even shoulder height, with the out breath guiding your knee across the body. Inhaling as you roll onto your back. Exhaling, guiding the knee across the body. Inhaling, rolling onto your back. As you keep going with this movement, potentially for another couple of rounds, as you might then choose to hold the posture or continue if that serves you better, you could just rest your fingertips upon the knee and add a tiny little bounce here, especially if you enjoy the movement. You could keep it moving, but very small. And as I explained to you, this movement might release very tight areas of your fascia, muscles, of course, as well. And with that, potentially release some of the discomfort that you are experiencing. Let's release to the back, stepping the foot back down, and if available, extending both legs out long. You could then choose to flex both of your feet, aligning your legs at about hip distance, and bring your arms alongside the body with the palms of the hands facing or touching the side of the legs. We will now inhale through the nose and exhale from pursed lips, try to push out of the breath. As we exhale, we will try and lift the upper body or even sit up. Let's start inhaling through the nose, exhaling pursed lips, lifting the upper body, the arms reaching towards the toes. On the inhale, lying back. Exhale. For some, it might be possible to come up to sit. Please don't stress about sitting all the way up. If you choose to try, keep your legs grounded onto the mat. We'll go for another 2 rounds. Maybe it's a lift of the upper body. Maybe it's a sitting up all the way. And with the next one, you might even help with your hands if sitting up is on the more difficult side of things today. So once you've risen to a seated position, you might do what I am doing for now, placing a support underneath my sitting bones and coming into an easy pose where one leg rests in front of the other. Have little shuffles. While we've moved the body a little bit, we haven't really opened the body up, nor have we moved much into the shoulders. So just finding your own way of getting into an easy seated position. With the third eye, there's one breathing practice where we can rest 2 fingers to that point, and that is the alternate nostril breathing. So we will practice a few rounds of that if it suits you. If your nose is blocked today, and that might be the case for some, or you just can't breathe fully through it, just notice, is there one blocked? If there is mildly blocked, you can pop a fist underneath your armpit, squeeze that into the armpit, and with that freeing up the nostril. For me, it was the right one. Now that's unblocked. However, if you have a cold or general condition that won't allow you to breathe through just one nostril, for all of you, you can simply sit, put your hands there, only lightly touch the nostrils maybe, and visualize the practice. So for this practice, we're using the thumb and the ring finger to close the nostrils. The index and middle finger may rest between that eyebrow center. So we're stimulating our third eye, and you might also rest the elbow into the palm of the opposite hand. Maybe that's helping with an upright seat. Let's breathe in and out of both nostrils once. Then closing the right nostril and inhaling through the left. Close the left and open the right, exhaling through the right side. Inhaling right nostril. closing and opening the left to breathe out the left nostril. That was our first cycle. Inhaling again, left. Exhaling, right side. Inhaling, right nostril. Exhaling, left. Now continue in your own pace. Inhaling left, exhaling right, and back inhaling through the right nostril and out your left. Finding your own pattern of breath. Allowing your breath to be full on inhalation as well as on the exhalation, but never causing any strain or need to gasp for air. Smooth flow of breath in through one nostril and out the other. Maybe today, with our focus on the third eye point, you can, as you continue this practice, observe the point underneath your fingers, where for all, whether you're alternating or visualizing, the breath switches over. One last round. And when you're then exhaling from your left nostril, you might rest your hands down. And observe yourself for a moment. What are you experiencing at this point? Maybe there's still a light stimulation of that third eye point that you can feel. Maybe it's an overall sense of balance. I suggest for our next movement to remove especially a block, if that is what you placed underneath. If it's a cushion, you might stay seated on it. Changing the leg that is in front. And taking a deep breath to reach both arms up. As you are aware, I'm only moving one arm. For you, that might be both, if the shoulders are healthy. And as you breathe out, just twisting hands, landing comfortably to the right. Then inhaling again, lifting your arms up. And then exhaling as we twist to the left. Let's do that again. Inhaling, arms rising. Exhaling, twisting to the right. Inhaling, arms rising. Exhaling and twisting to the left. Let's breathe in once more to reach the arms up. And again, twisting towards the right side, but now we're holding. As you inhale here, and with the exhalation, starting to lean the torso over the right knee. And you might even lean all the way towards the knee, potentially encouraging both of your sitting bones to remain grounded on the mat. You might then take your right hand and place that in line with your hip. And inhale to reach your left arm over the head. You can look forward, down, or up with a light chin tuck. As you keep your sitting bones on the mat, try and reach that little bit further across. Then breathe in and lift both arms back up to the ceiling. And exhaling as you turn and twist to your left. As you hold here, inhale. And on the exhale, starting to lean over the left knee. Hands can adjust. Head might lower. Trying to stay grounded in your seat, even though you're leaning away from another side. Then sliding your left hand in line with the hip. And the breath in to raise your right arm above the head for a side bend. Gazing point is yours as you breathe out for a side bend. Leaving your arm over the head and the shoulder rather back. The gaze here, if it's lifted upwards, has a light chin tuck happening. Still grounding through your sitting bones. Let's take a breath in and lift both arms back up. And on the exhale, placing the hands down directly by the sides of your hips. Now, I prefer to step up onto fists here, and with that, I've turned my thumbs to look forward. My hands are really snuck down by the hips directly as we inhale to stay seated. With the exhale, pressing down and maybe lifting the hips a little bit off the mat, lifting up from your pelvic floor, and then release back down onto the mat. Take your feet over to one side and change your position now to an all-fours stance. Let's spread out the hands onto the mat and place the knees directly underneath the hips. The tops of the feet down on the ground, engaging into the hands and using Hasta Bandha so that we're engaging into bases, pads of the fingers. And while you breathe in, starting to pull your hands towards your knees. They're not moving and the body is trying to resist as we move forward. And as you breathe out, push your hands to the front edge of the mat. Again, resist, but rock a little bit backwards. So while we inhale, pulling forward, resisting with inner strength. On the exhale, pushing the hands to the front and rocking a bit back. So hands moving to the knees on the inhale and away on the exhale. Keep a certain amount of inner resistance here to the movement that you are initiating with your arms and hands. So that your core is switched on and we're actually strengthening in this shape. Let's pause in the center. Notice to relax your back. And on the next inhale, lifting your right arm and turning to the right side. With your out breath now, threading the needle as you might rest to your ear and to your shoulder. You might also choose to step up onto the fingertips of your left hand and push them into the mat so that the shoulder lifts a bit more as you gaze along the floor. So the fingertips on the ground, giving you a deeper twist in your upper back. And let your fingers spread back down into the ground. As you inhale, lifting your right arm again. On the exhale, we're landing back on all fours. Let's do the other side. Inhaling, left arm lifts as we turn. Exhaling, threading the needle as you reach underneath. And again, might you rest upon your ear and your shoulder. The same there, fingertips onto the ground of the other hand, pushing them into the mat to elevate the shoulder, finding a deeper twist. And keep looking along the floor. Planting your hand back down onto the mat. Taking a breath in, let your left arm lift and open your gaze to the side. On your out breath then, returning onto all fours. With your next breath in, let your right leg extend backwards. Find some length from your heel to the crown. And on your out breath, draw the knee into the nose. Inhaling to extend the leg and the spine again. Exhaling, bringing the knee and the nose in together. Repeat that for one more round. Inhaling to extend. Exhaling, bring the knee in and help or land your foot forward. Now I'm helping my foot, I'm wiggling it a bit further forward so I can lean a bit into this lunge. My knee is aligning now over the ankle joint. On a breath in, let's lift both arms up to the ceiling. And on your out breath, touching the palms together and placing your thumbs to your third eye point. Inhaling, extending both hands, now turning towards the front knee or towards that side. Towards the front, as you might lift your left elbow. And pressing the palms of the hands together while your elbow and your knee are gently moving against each other. Feeling a similar length in the spine and a similar twist to the thread the needle position. With your next inhale, lifting both arms back up. Have a sigh as you release your hands to frame the front foot. Then slide your knee back onto the mat and let your fingers spread back out onto the ground. With the next inhalation, the heel of the left leg extends back and you're stretching forward to your crown. With the out breath, drawing knee and nose together. On the inhale, extend from heel to crown. Exhale, bring knee and nose together. One last round, inhaling, exhaling, and aiming or landing the foot between the hands. Please, again, allow your foot to adjust, wiggle, or help it into your ideal position. When you're ready, breathe in and lift both arms up towards the ceiling. On the out breath, touch the palms and the thumbs for a moment to your third eye point. On the inhale, lifting both arms back up. On your exhale now, starting to turn towards the front knee and your hands are at the heart. You could then on your next exhale, lean forward and maybe your elbow is placed to the outside of the knee. Maybe your other elbow is lifted. You could create a bit of pressure between the elbow and the knee and the palms of your hands. Get a deeper twist into the spine. Your next inhalation, both arms lifting again to the ceiling. A sigh to land the hands. Now drawing the back toes under and lifting the knee away from the mat. Only to step the other foot towards a downward facing dog. And your arms might be evenly extended here. As you begin to walk out through your legs, create a bit of a swing in your hips. Walking then slowly your feet towards the front side of the mat. Have a rest in a standing forward fold. Allow the weight to shift forward in your grounded feet. The tailbone to be high, the head to be low. With your knees soft, breathe out and start to uncurl your spine into a standing position. Facing the short front edge of the mat. The feet at about hip distance apart on the ground. Maybe already aligning the outer edges of the feet here so the pelvis is facing forward and at ease. On your next inhalation, lifting both arms out and up. A breath out to draw the hands to the third eye point and touch. Inhaling, extending both arms again. On the exhale, now circle the hands and place them upon your hips. With your hands resting on the hips, stepping the right foot back and keeping the hip distance while you're stepping back about a meter. The back foot is aligned in about a 45-degree angle, pointing diagonally forward. If your hands on the hips are showing your hips are still facing forward, your stance is correct. If you had to adjust your hips like this, let them go again and adjust your stance instead. Then bring a bend into the front knee. Now this knee is aligning over the ankle joint. However, if you find you're moving too far forward, just step the feet a little bit further apart. With a bend in your front knee, reach your arms back up on this inhalation. Your one or Virabhadrasana one. Your palms over the head may face or touch. You can relax the shoulders or try to. And you might even want to lift your gaze upwards. Allowing the feet to be firmly grounded, but not only that, also pulling a little bit inwards towards each other. On the exhale now, bring the hands to the heart and turn in the side where the knee is bent in front. So very similar. You've done before. Reach your right arm up and off the thigh behind you. So right arm is reaching upwards. Other hand is resting against the back thigh. It's like an extended or exalted warrior one. So you might feel a good stretch across the hip flexors, maybe over your side body. When you next inhale, lift the back heel, reach your arms back up over the head. And as you're exhaling, bring the hands back to the hip and step your foot to the front. Now the stance is back to about hip distance. Not much has changed here. Maybe you need to rock or step over the feet to feel more grounded again. On your next in-breath, reach both arms up. On the out-breath, touch the thumbs to the third eye point. Inhaling, extending your arms up. Exhaling, circle the hands to touch your hips. We'll keep the hip distance and step the left foot back. As you're grounded back about a meter and hip distance, there's that diagonal placement of the toes facing forward. Your hips are perfectly aligned when there's no adjustment needed. As you bend your front knee, your hips are still facing forward. As we're here, take a breath in and lift both arms up again. Shoulders at ease, palms either facing each other or touching. You might even lift your gaze. And then also trying to pull the feet in towards each other, creating the stability from the ground. On the inhale, stretch back up. On the exhale, take your hands to the heart and turn to the side where the knee is in front. Keep yourself grounded in your stance, the pulling still happening. And with the next inhale, let the right hand touch the back thigh and lift the other arm up over the head. As you ground through your feet, the fingers are reaching up and back. And maybe you're feeling length in the side and the hip flexors, whatever there is for you in this point. Lifting the back heel as you next inhale, reaching your arms back up. With the exhale, step to the front, release your arms and turn the palms towards the front, finding a tall upright standing position with the knees lightly out of the lock. As we ground, on your next inhale, lift your right knee and your arms like wings. Stepping the foot across as you bend even your standing leg. You could touch your big toe to the ground or hug the legs together. Your right arm crosses under the left. You might hug your shoulders or come into a full beak. If you're working with the beak, you might be able to rest back upon the third eye point. Or you could try my eagle variation here with one arm a bit lower if that suits you too. Get a little squeeze between the arms and the legs as you find your eagle shape. With your next breath in, let your wings come back up, the knee lift, and then landing the foot as well as the arms, finding your mountain pose again. Changing sides, left knee lifting, the arms are coming up, inhaling. Bring a bend to the standing leg, swing the leg across, the big toe on the ground or the legs hugging together. It's the left arm now that crosses under the right. Or a hug or a beak. If there's a beak or a variation thereof, as I'm demonstrating again, you might rest the thumb to your third eye point, allowing a little squeeze between arms and legs as you aim for steadiness in a balance, and trust that it's never going to be balanced at all. This is a constant work on stability. The next inhale, lifting the knee and the arms again. On the exhale, landing and releasing back to a mountain shape. Deep, full breath in. A long sigh out. Taking your hands back upon the hips, but now turning yourself towards the long edge of the mat and taking your feet out rather wide. You may allow your toes to point to the corners of the mat for now. Taking a deep breath in and reaching both arms back up towards the ceiling. And as you breathe out, bending both knees, swinging your right arm underneath the left for the same arms. So you might have your eagle variation here or a hug of your shoulders. With your knees bent, start to sway a little bit from side to side. Start the movement in your legs and in your feet, and then bring your upper body into the movement as you find a way forward and down towards the ground. When you release your arms here, placing your fingertips down onto the floor, we will turn our right toes towards the short side of the mat and the heel of the left foot to the other side, collapsing the upper body down. On an outburst, then rolling up through the spine. On the inhale, circling both arms up to the ceiling. And then a bend into the right knee and the arms are pushing out for warrior two, looking over the front hand fingertips. On the inhale now, turning the toes back into the corners of the mat and reaching the arms up. On the out breath, bending the knees, the left arm crosses under the right as you might embrace or find a beak variation again. Starting to move back into the legs and the feet as you begin the movement from side to side. And then adding the upper body and moving that forward and down. Releasing again your fingertips to the mat. As we will turn the left toes to the short edge of the mat, the right heel to the other side, and then inhaling to let the upper body hang down. For your out breath, rolling up through the spine. The inhale to raise both arms to the ceiling. The left knee that bends and the arms push out for warrior two as you look over the left hand fingertips this time. Finding your stance. Your gazing point is across the fingertips with all three eyes. With the next inhale, lifting both arms back up, turning the toes to the corners of the mat. With the exhale, bending the knees and placing the hands upon the thighs. Fingers are pointing down on the inside of the thighs. I've just moved around so I've got a comfortable stance in a squat. My spine here is long as I lean forward, and you might do the same. Breathing in. On the exhale, drop your left shoulder down and look over the right. Inhaling, come back to center. Right shoulder down and looking over the left. Inhaling, center. Let's do that a couple more times on each side. Just twisting the shoulder downwards and looking over the opposite. When you then complete it and come into the center, let your heels turn out as you straighten your legs, and let the hands slide down the outside of the legs into a standing forward fold. You might keep your hands on your legs or on your feet, whatever comes easier to you. And you might lift your shoulders back into the shoulder socket while the weight sits forward within the feet. Tailbone is high, head low, and we'll stay here for 3 deep, full breaths. Once you completed those breaths, release the hands or the fingertips to the mat. Come for a half lift on your in-breaths, and then heel and toe your feet a little bit in towards each other, only to place your knees down onto the ground, sitting back towards the heels, or coming directly into a seated position on the mat. So when we come to an upright seated position, legs out long in front, my suggestion here is a gentle support underneath your sitting bones, blankets, cushions, rolled up end of the mat. Now your legs will be long, but the knees will be bent. The fingertips onto the ground and the feet in a strong flexion so the toes are turned to the ceiling. Allow yourself to drop down into your sitting bones, maybe even close the eyes or steady the gaze at your toes. Taking a slow breath into your abdomen, expanding into the ribs, lifting the breast to your collarbones. As you begin your exhalation from your belly, lean the belly over your thighs. And as you complete your out breath, let your hands come forward and your head lower to the space between the knees. You might then allow each in-breath to reach your crown forward as if you want to stretch out your back. And on each out-breath, surrender to the shape. My suggestion is the lengths coming forward, but the exhalation being much longer than your in-breath. Stay with Paschimottanasana, which this is a seated forward fold, for a few more breaths. Maybe noticing what you can see while your eyes are closed in this position. Maybe the affirmation at the beginning comes back to your mind. One more breath. Then as you inhale, lifting halfway up and breathing out to return to your upright seated position. Suggestion now to come off your gentle support. If you do have a block, I suggest to pop that underneath as we change our seated position. So both feet might be loosely stepped in front. As you take your left hand, reach that underneath the left leg to take a hold of the right ankle. You can then choose to just drop this leg out in front as you would in an easy pose. Or you could take this foot and place it to the outside of your sitting support or the outside of the hip if you're not using any. You could then step your left foot in front of the shin or to the outside of the leg. Let's take a hold of the knee and just lengthen through the spine. Sliding the left hand fingertips behind your back and exhaling to come into a twist. You might like to steady your gaze or close your eyes. And you could also engage your elbow around the knee or even take the elbow to the outside of the knee for any binds that you might be aware of. A simple twist at this point. Breathing in as your head turns forward. And if it's available to you, now taking your left ankle and bringing that to the outside of the hip here as well. A great alternative, if this is very uncomfortable for you, and it could be, is to simply place the left leg in front like so, completing Sukhasana or an easy pose. To continue, you might like to inhale and raise your left arm towards the ceiling. And then to bend the elbow so the hand is placed behind. Some of you will now reach with the hand to the elbow and assist that to come backwards. Others might swing that arm behind for a bind of the fingers behind the back. In any case, keep your head upright and tall and keep your elbow moving back with your lower ribs gently as a counterbalance drawing inwards. You might again allow your eyes to close or your gaze to be steady. Letting go of any holds, whether that's hands or elbows. Take a breath, and as you exhale, release the hands. Now I suggest to lean a little bit back to unwind the legs and step the feet back onto the ground in front of you. Now using the right hand under the right leg to take a hold of the left ankle joint. Same options here, legs squaring in front for an easy pose, or being drawn towards the side of the block or the side of the hip. We'll then step the foot either close to the shin or across the leg. Let's take a hold of the knee to pull ourselves upright and long and slide the right hand fingertips behind for an out breath to come into a twist. You're welcome to hold the hand or wrap the elbow around the knee, or bring your elbow to the outside or even bind underneath. Find your preferred variation. Steady your gaze. If you're closing the eyes, you might look up to your third eye point, reminding you of your own personal focus. On the inhale now, turn your head forward, release as you breathe out. So the same option, placing this leg in front, completing an easy pose on the other side, or sliding the foot to the outside of the hip for a cow face pose. On your next inhale, lifting your right arm up towards the ceiling, and then bending the elbow to place the hand behind the head or the back. You might then take the other hand to hold onto your elbow, or swing that arm behind the back for a bind with your fingers. The same here, leave your head upright and tall, draw the lower ribs gently in, and your elbow backwards. Same here, if you want to close out the vision, gently close your eyes, hold yourself here, notice your challenges and what we can see. Your next breath, lifting and releasing the arms. As you exhale, plant the hands down, lean a little bit back, release the legs, and also come off your block. Now I suggest you keep the block by the side of the mat to put on anything that you might like for relaxation other than your socks, keep them close by. As you might lengthen through the spine while you sit here and inhale, to then breathe out and roll down onto the back. For our gentle inversion today, let your feet step onto the ground. You may have a shoulder stand in your practice. It's not what I am aiming for today. If you can do so safely, have a healthy neck and shoulders, please go for it. If you prefer to come with me, have a block nearby. Lift your hips by squeezing your buttocks up as you inhale, and then draw the block underneath, maybe flat or at any stage that you enjoy to lift your hips to. Now this block will be placed underneath the sacrum. You might see me wiggling here into position. I will keep my hands on the block, and you might do the same for security, so to lift your knees safely over your chest. My block seems to be in the right position. I still hold on, and you might also like to extend your legs upwards. If you feel stability on your block, you might then release your arms. A supported shoulder stand, or some of you may be in a full shoulder stand. You might like to floint your feet now as you press the balls of the feet up and let your toes spread out. Maybe that is your gazing point, or if you like to close your eyes, bringing your gazing point back to the third eye point between the eyebrows. Noticing the activity in the legs and how that impacts the whole posture. To release the shoulder stand, use your core and roll down. To release from a block support, place the hands back onto the block. Point your toes on the next inhale. Bend your knees to the chest on the exhale. And then lightly stepping one foot after the other back to hip distance onto the mat. If you're with me, squeeze your bottom up to the bridge on the inhale. Remove the block from underneath, hold the bridge, and exhale to ever so slowly roll the spine down onto the mat. You could let your arms roll open, your knees roll from side to side, and you might also enjoy rolling your head from side to side. As you find that movement again in the body, aim to connect it with the flow of your breath. When you feel you are ready to rest, You might simply extend your legs out, keep your knees bent for back support, or prop yourself up, rolled up blankets, bolsters, and cushions. We'll stay in Shavasana for a few minutes. So please make yourself comfortable, but in a sense of Shavasana or corpse pose, where unless your knees are bent, all body parts are detaching from the rest of the body. Arriving in this shape, as you draw the first awareness into Ajna Chakra, your third eye point. And to begin this relaxation with, you might return to your affirmation, I have clarity in my thoughts, or ego doesn't cloud my thinking, or I'm open to my inner wisdom. As you could repeat your choice for 3 rounds silently to yourself. Let your palms of the hands face upward. Gently but deeply breathing. Allow your shoulders, back, and neck to relax into the support of the mat. As you inhale, you might like to visualize a blue ray of light streaming into the crown of your head and down your spine, bathing your whole nervous system in light. As you exhale, feel nervous tension, density, and stress leave your body. Repeat this process a few more times. Inhaling blue rays of light streaming into the crown of the head, down your spine, through the whole nervous system. And exhaling, releasing tension, density, and stress. A few more breaths with that visualization. If you feel now that this process is complete and you would like to nourish this energy a little bit further, you could choose to extend your index and middle fingers on each hand and touch the tips of the thumbs to the tips of the ring and the little finger, leaving your hands restful by your sides and attuning to the loop that you created with your fingers, holding this gesture gently. The body, other than your hands, relaxed. And visualizing a green light bathing your whole body, strengthening and revitalizing your spine and nervous system. So we're holding your hands. It's a green light bathing the body, strengthening, revitalizing your spine and nervous system. Letting go now of the visualization, letting go of the positioning of the hands, maybe beginning to wiggle the fingers and creating a deeper breath and potential awareness to guide you into deeper movement or even a little stretch. Only to convince yourself to join me in a seated position. As you might come up to sit, suggest to place the hands upon the legs or by your sides if you prefer. You might allow your eyes to close or steady the gaze. And with your next inhalation, reaching your arms out and up. With the owl breath touching the thumbs towards the forehead. And you might reaffirm yourself about this affirmation practice. And then from what you see here with your third eye, you draw all of this down into your heart center. Maybe feeling back the radiation of this green light through your body. The energy that you created for yourself. As we complete our practice with one sound of Om, followed by 3 Shantis for peace. Let's inhale for the universal sound. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The light bow, extending to each other. Namaste.